Hey, we're live. Wonderful Warthog Wednesday. Hope you're have had a great day today. I know I have had a good day as well, but I'm a little under the weather. I'm gonna not lie. You might have noticed last week on the program when I was reading excerpts from the draft of Two Bags Full. I was watching it back a little bit, which they say never to do, but I do anyway a little bit. Because I don't know what I'm doing, trying to learn, trying to get better, especially improve the production quality of the program. But so I noticed I had a little drip right here at the end of my nose during part of it. I'd like to say that was sweat from the hard effort under the bright lights of the makeshift studio here, but it was not. It was actually the start of a little cold that grew into a bigger cold, and I'm still a little bit under the weather. So I'm all hopped up on cold medicine, but I think we'll make it through. Got a little bit of a cough, so hopefully that won't be too bothersome. But probably be a little bit of a truncated episode today, and why I don't really have a guest, but it worked out well though actually because I do have a really cool guest that I'm working on that hopefully we'll have for next week. So watch the channel for announcements on that. But today I had promised. I realized that again, since I don't know what I'm doing, I realized that I really never explained the origin story for Two Bags Full. Where does that come from? That as I worked on the book over the years, I've had a couple different working titles, and then just as you just start thinking about experiences that you've had and trying to make accurate recollections, and then going back looking through notes and talking to other people, um, I remembered my first squadron. Uh, I was really blessed through my career. Of course, I interviewed Irish, which is one of the best squadron commanders ever in the history of ever. Um, but my first squadron commander was really awesome as well. And as I was saying, I've really been blessed in my career to have had just fabulous leadership, great mentors, just great fighter pilots, great human beings. Just tremendous leaders. But my very first was Lieutenant Colonel Bud Jackson, the 23rd Tactical Air Support Squadron, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, Tucson, Arizona. As I mentioned before, I was one of the initial cadre guys in the OA-10. First guy ever out of pilot training to receive an OA-10 as an assignment. So, um, and the commander was Bud Jackson. He had been a hero in Vietnam. I think he'd won like 2 Silver Stars. He was a fast forward air controller in F-100s. He was, in fact, a Misty Fac. Uh, so, or I think he was a nail fac actually. I believe he was a nail fac. So, the nail facs. That was my first squadron. It was awesome. Bunch of great dudes there. Learned so much from those guys in the just brief year that I was there with them actually. But uh, Bud Jackson was this like bigger than life guy, hero in Vietnam, and he just had this presence. He was a big guy. He had kind of a Texas drawl, right? Somewhere in the South. I'm not really sure where he's from actually, but and it was really cool too. He always wore a boot knife. It was outside of his leg to his flight suit. So you saw the boot knife, it stuck on his boot sticking out. And then on Fridays, typically in fighter squadrons back in the day anyway, we would only fly the morning go. We would not fly again, a second turn in the afternoon because we would have things like safety briefings, intelligence briefings, and of course we had a squadron bar. And then we'd go to the O Club on Friday night as well. And Friday night started at 4 o'clock. So and Colonel Jackson was certainly leading the charge in that arena. But we would fly in the morning, and then we'd all go over to the O Club for lunch usually, and then we'd come back to the squadron briefing room, little kind of like little auditorium, and we would have a safety or intelligence brief or something. But he would always come in to get that thing started, and so we're all seated in there. He comes marching in. We all stand at attention, of course, and he's always wearing these twin pearl-handled revolvers. Like he's got the whole gun belt thing on. He's wearing those, and he'd come in and start the briefs. It's just cool. He was just a cool dude. But so for the mission ready check ride, so you go into a squadron and you do an upgrade to mission ready. So you learn the tactics and the mission of the squadron, and you do flights with some instructor pilots, especially as a new guy. I was just right out of the what we then called the replacement training unit, or RTU, and now call it the FTU, I guess. But it's also known as the B course. So it's the full length, the long course to take some guy that has never flown a fighter and is a first fighter, and put him through the course of training for that jet. So there was no OA-10B course. So I went through the A-10B course, In fact, I'm going to brag. I was the top gun of the A-10B course for my class, which was cool. But I was not going to go fly the A-10. I was going to fly the OA-10. And I will say that the squadron commander and the DO for the wing over the OA-10s was very proud to have the guy that was the top gun of the class come into the OA-10. So that was cool. So I got a good start there. But so then you do a mission ready check ride. And there was a little kind of a spin up program for the OA-10 after the A-10 RTU. It was not really that much formalized syllabus. It was just like, okay, we got this new guy. He's never been a forward air controller. He's just out of the A-10 RTU. They didn't teach him anything about being a forward air controller over there. So what do we do with him? So I went through an MR, a mission ready or MR upgrade. And in that squadron, Colonel Jackson flew all the mission ready check rides. Normally there'd be like guys from the wing. It's called standardization and evaluation that would fly a lot of check rides. Very experienced instructor pilots that would fly the check rides, typically. But in this squadron, Jackson was in charge, and so Colonel Jackson flew the MR check rides with everybody, and you knew kind of what the skinny was, because you knew if you passed, he's inviting you to join him in his office after you get changed out of your flight gear. If you're invited to join him in a briefing room, you did not pass. So I was very pleased that on my MR check ride, Colonel Jackson invited me to his office. So sit down across from his big, wooden desk, and I'm not gonna lie, he also offered a libation in celebration. Jeremiah weed was the drink of choice for A-10 guys back in those days. And I'm not talking about the iced tea bourbon. I'm talking about the bourbon liqueur. It's like jet fuel. It's just rock good, awful. But that was what A-10 guys drink. I understand they don't even make it anymore, and the A-10 squadrons that are still around are they've hoarded it, because you got to have the weed. I guess they probably call it something else. We just call it weed, but you can't call it weed now because I think you're smoking up something. But in this day and age, but whatever. So anyway, so you enjoy that, and then he debriefed you on the ride, and then he said something like this. He said, "Well, I didn't have my call sign yet, so it wasn't Shanghai. It was Will Todd, or probably just Shihai. He kind of just was one of those last name guys or call sign guys. He probably called me She-He because my name is SH2EHY, which could be She-He or She-Hi. And it's typically pronounced in the Irish pronunciation as She-He. It was O She-He, but somewhere down in the annals of time, in our family got kind of a She-Hi. So anyway, he probably called me She-He. So he's probably said, hey, She-He, well, I'll tell you what. He said, so you did a good job. Proud of you. I'd take you on my wing in combat, but I'm going to tell you something else. You don't know shit yet. so you just think, you're doing great. You're huge. And then he's like, wait a minute. What do you mean I don't know shit? I thought I did good, boss. And then he says, let me tell you something about this. He said, look at it this way. You got two bags. One is in each hand. One of them's full and one of them's empty. The full one is full of luck. The empty one is where the skill goes. The trick in this business, Sheehy, is fill the empty one up before the full one runs out. So I've kind of remembered that over the years. And as I was working on the book, it kind of came to me that was kind of some of my combat experience as well. And as I read part of the book last time, I think you got a sense of the fact that that first mission was pretty harrowing, and I came out of that first mission thinking, what the hell have I gotten this into? It was very scary. It was not much like what I thought it would be like. I didn't end up dropping a damn thing, and then I knew I was going to have to go, soon up there again and do it again and again and again, and you kind of wonder, well, where do I find the fortitude to do that? And so through the book, you didn't experience this in the first draft because I didn't really get that far, and I've got a lot of line notes in the edges there that to for the editing, but throughout the book I'm going to weave in sort of how I think my two bags are doing, and I'll tell you what, after that first mission, I felt like that bag of luck was somewhat depleted, and that bag of skill hadn't been filled up much if any at all on that mission. But so I think that'll be kind of a neat analogy throughout the book is the two bags, the bag of skill and the bag of luck. And as I loved how he said it, the trick in this business is fill up the empty one before the full one runs out. So that's where two bags full comes from. Hope you enjoy that story. So I want to follow up on something else as well. So last week, we were almost at Thanksgiving. It was the day before Thanksgiving. And I mentioned that I'd be spending Thanksgiving at the Phoenix House, which is the transitional living facility for homeless veterans here in Oklahoma City. Great mission. It's just a great organization. It's a nonprofit organization, of course, uh, and um, and there's a contract with the Department of Veterans Affairs to provide services to homeless veterans. We're about 2 blocks from the state capitol here in Oklahoma City, and it's to the north, and 2 blocks to the south is the Regional VA Medical Center, Oklahoma City Regional VA Medical Center, which, by the way, was just lauded as one of the best VA centers in the country. In fact, they reported people are coming from other states just to come to Oklahoma City's VA for healthcare because it's so awesome. Um, and they've just done wonderful, wonderful things over there. Hiring of staff, training, the facilities are awesome. They've had a lot of upgrades. They did just unbelievable work during the COVID crisis to keep that place open and running. But so, and they do a great job with the homeless program. There's an emergency homeless office there, so any weekday, a homeless veteran can walk in there and get immediate services. And in fact, if there's a bed at the Phoenix House, there are 4 beds there for emergency beds, and there's a total of 22. The rest are what are called grant per diem. So that's the program with the VA where there is a grant it's every 2 years it's applied for, and that is to help offset the overhead costs of the facility. And then the per diem is as it says, per diem, per day, per night, really per bed night, um, remuneration for all the support of those guys. So they don't need a thing. They don't need food. They don't need transportation. They don't need money. Everything is provided for them. And then at the VA, there's case managers, people who are professionals in social work, who meet regularly, at least weekly, but they're primary case managers there every day, pretty much. But it's just kind of honchoing these guys, and what do you need? What are your goals? Let's set some goals. Let's get you from where you are now, where you were yesterday, homeless, to independent living and gainful employment again. And whatever you need along that way, whether it's health care, physical, dental health care, mental health care, substance abuse treatment. Um, if you've got legal problems, you need to work those out. There's legal specialists there as well. So there's housing specialists. There's job training and placement people. So wonderful resources at the VA for our veterans. And so our facility is for men. So we have up to 22 men there at any time. Across the street, there's a program that's the Substance Treatment and Recovery Program, a different provider there. Often we'll get the men from that program over to our house across the street. So over there, obviously, as the name implies, they help the guys that are having problems with substance abuse. So whatever that is, alcohol, other drugs, tobacco, all those kind of things. And so, and then next door, there's a house that there's usually a few ladies in as well. So so there are services for the veteran women as well, but not enough of it, of course. At any given night in Oklahoma City, there's 1,700 homeless people in the metro area. I don't do a lot of math in public, but they say about 20% of those are veterans. So we got about 65 total beds in Oklahoma City for homeless veterans, and so if you got 1,700, that's about 340 or so veterans that are homeless in Oklahoma City on any given night. And we don't have nearly enough resources for those folks, but the ones we do are fabulous, and hopefully there'll be some expansion of those going forward as well. But and of course, not all the veterans want help either, so there's that component of it also. But let's talk about the ones we do help. So the house is 100 years old. We're going to celebrate the 100th anniversary of this house being built. It's a big old white 2-story stucco house. We've got in fact, this flag behind me, right there. The reason I have that flag, and it's a little, it's a little worn and a little beat up, but that's a flag that former the late Jim Inhofe, U.S. Senator longtime U.S. Senator from Oklahoma, great man. In fact, a pilot. He'd fly back and forth from his ranch here in Oklahoma to the capital, nation's capital, in a he had a twin. I think it was a twin Aztec. I think is what it was. But anyway, so he was a pilot. In fact, when he had come to Oklahoma City, the area, when they were kind of on their breaks from his work in Congress, the Senate, he would have town hall meetings in a little suburb of Oklahoma City called Bethany, where I went to college and where my kids went to school, the public schools there. where I did all the community service work and Chamber of Commerce stuff and such. When he'd come to Bethany to do a little town hall meeting, he would hold those in my real estate offices. I was a real estate broker specialized in new home sales, and so there's a great A10 book called Warthog, and that's a wonderful book written by James Smallwood. It recounts sort of the A10 and the Gulf War, and I had a copy of it on my bookshelf, and Senator Inhofe remarked on it, and I asked him to sign it, and he did. It's cool. He said I was a great American, which is awesome. I like that. And but anyway, Senator Inhofe I would contact him, and about once a quarter, we would get a flag, just like that one, donated from Senator Inhofe that had flown over the nation's capital. So that flag right there is one that flew over the nation's capital, then flew at Phoenix House, because when old Shanghai showed up there to help out, they had a flagpole that was made out of PVC, and it was kind of leaning. So if we get strong winds here in Oklahoma, and it was a little bit, when the winds come sleeping down the plain, it was a little bit bent, so to speak. And so we built me and a couple of the guys, we built a new flagpole up there, and now we donate funds. We have a really cool flagpole that has this, like, it looks like a little spaceship. It's a little brown, like an alien spaceship. It's like kind of a round thing on top of it, and it's got solar. It's kind of a solar panel, and so it lights up the flag at night. So we didn't have to go, and retire the colors and put them back up, wear and tear on the flag, and getting a guy to do that before dark and all that stuff's challenge. So this is cool. We can leave it up all night because it's lit up. So it uses the sun's energy during the day and then lights it up really nicely at night. So we get these big all-weather flags, but they don't last forever in these Oklahoma winds. So this is one that we retired from there, and so I'm using up here because I think it's just cool. And as I said, I'm in a condo that I'm remodeling, so I don't, it's kind of a makeshift studio, and I'll get all my cool, I love me stuff hanging on the walls one of these days. But anyway, so at Phoenix House, I was there helping with the Thanksgiving dinner. And by the way, so I've learned how to put up some photos and stuff on the channel, and so I'll put up a picture. I'm learning in this interface that I'm using called StreamYard how to while I'm talking to you, I'm practicing this, put up other stuff onto the screen, like a picture of the Phoenix House would be like pretty appropriate right now. But you have to come back and look at that, but try to describe it. So it's big, white, 2-story stucco house. It's built 100 years ago. It's in an area called Lincoln Terrace, which is kind of been a wealthy area of Oklahoma City for a number of years. It's sort of where some of the Supreme Court justice lives in one of the big houses, and some prominent attorneys and doctors and political figures and such. The governor's mansion is actually just at the north end it's about 2 streets away from us, actually, just east of our state capitol. So nice area, but 100 years takes a toll on a house. Originally this house would have been a single family home. It was converted at some point into a fourplex of apartments, and then converted about 13 years ago into a facility to house the veterans. So our director, Dana Clifton, owns the property. It was owned by her father, who just passed away this last year. The great Johnny Johnson, just a great icon in Oklahoma City, 33-degree Mason, a Shriner. He was the civilian HR manager at Tinker Air Force Base, the Air Logistics Center there forever, and just a wonderful, wonderful man. And it was sad his passing, but he was just I think there was something like 800 people at his funeral or something. This is amazing. It was just a wonderful guy. But so his daughter has run the program for 13 years or so, and now owns the property. So I went over to volunteer. We had a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving dinner. We had about 17 guys there. They had a wonderful feast. They were all so appreciative. I mean, really, it was just I get a little emotional really at these things, because it's just really wonderful to see these guys. Last year they probably weren't enjoying a Thanksgiving dinner, and they really did this year. So actually, the guy that does our pest control, Miguel, Any Hour Pest Control here in Oklahoma City. If you're here, you need some pest control, call up Any Hour, all one word, pest control. But Miguel is just a great guy, and he roasted he's done this for a number of years. He roasted these 2 massive turkeys for us. And so I went over and met him there at Phoenix House to take delivery of those, and then a lot of people donated, other all the fixings, all the treatments. I'll have a nice picture of it as well that I'll put up. But um, that was cool. And so last time I sort of did a little plea to maybe solicit some funds to help offset the cost of that, because again, a nonprofit organization. And that per diem from the VA is not, we wouldn't call it particularly generous. It gets the job done, but it's a labor of love, of course. And so there's someone like our director could be making, 5 or 6 times probably 10 times the amount of money that she makes in the private sector versus doing what she's doing, but she does it because she loves veterans. She actually adopted a young man who I think about 18 years old, and he ended up going off to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and coming back injured, um, and actually has worked for the VA. He's a great guy. So they've got a heart for veterans and that family, but anyway. It is a nonprofit, and doing something extra like Thanksgiving dinner could be expensive. So I want to particularly thank 3 of our viewers. Scott Atwood, of course, I interviewed Scott on our second episode. A longtime A-10 crew chief, and now a professional pilot flying a Citation jet for a family down in Texas. Great guy, Scott and his wife. Really appreciate them. Also, Vicki Hauser for her generous donation. Look at my list here, and Philip DeRoche also. So we raised about $250, which really covered the cost of that Thanksgiving meal, and it just and us to do some extra stuff. I mean, we had pumpkin pie out the ears, man. It was awesome. Pumpkin pies and pecan pies and some chocolate pie. It was awesome. And just these guys just ate and ate. It was awesome. Just an awesome day. Now my Lions lost to the Packers. And by the way, one of the guys that another great veteran, Navy veteran, Walter, that lives next door to me actually here. He's a Packers fan. He covers the sort of evening to night transition shift on the weekends at Phoenix House as the adult supervision there. But Walter's a great guy, but he's a Packers fan, and the Packers beat my Lions. So that was the only kind of negative thing of the day. But anyway, it was a great day of football, even better day of feasting. But it was a particularly fabulous day of fellowship with the guys, and they really appreciate it. So I appreciate our viewers, those that donated to that and offset that cost is awesome. But not done there. I'll solicit some more money. So here's the other thing about Phoenix House. 100 years old. We have 4 heat and air plants there that are, 4 heat and air units that are obsolete. We can't even recharge the cooling systems because Freon is illegal now, and these things are Freon-based systems. So inefficient and really incapable in the summer. In fact, a couple years ago, I think it was 2 summers ago, I ended up installing some like 8 window unit air conditioners upstairs in the resident areas to keep that place cool. You can imagine the electric bills with 8 window units running all summer long, so not very efficient. The roofing system, it's mostly a flat roof, actually. There's a sort of a gable and hip sections on the front of the house, but most of it is a flat roof with parapet walls up the sides and rolled roofing, which is leaking. There have been multiple efforts over the last few years to stop those leaks and then patch up drywall in the ceilings in the resident areas. So the house is very comfortable, very clean, very nice, but it's not updated at all. And the guys deserve better, frankly. So and the cost of trying to keep a 100-year-old house going when things are starting to deteriorate are prohibitive. So good news is that in January, the city of Oklahoma City is going to have funds available through the Community Development Block Grant Program. It's something that we call the Metropolitan Area Improvement System here, MAPS, to help restore some historic buildings, and then also they've got money in there for the homeless program. So I'll be finishing up here in December a grant application to the city. I've already talked to the city planners quite a bit. They're expecting that on January 2nd, old Shanghai's going to show up, put on their desk, big old thick grant application for $150,000, which we've gotten bids and estimates and bids on all this stuff, and of course we've squeezed all those folks as much as we can. I've got a buddy from college that owns a pretty significant roofing company here that specializes in foam sealant roofs for flat commercial buildings. So it's a cool system. It's a monolithic spray foam. It adds like R4 in insulation value, which is cool. It'll put a slight slope on it, so it's not completely flat. It'll drain towards the rear of the property, and then the two downspouts. So that's cool. It'll seal up everything. We don't have to do any tear off. We just seal it all up. Add insulation, this R4 insulation through this foam spray. As I think that's a 25-year guarantee, and he's going to do it at his cost for us. So that's awesome. Saving a lot of money there. And then there's a company here in Oklahoma City called Terrell's Roofing and Siding, and Mr. Terrell was a 1964 University of Oklahoma Sugar Bowl football champion. So I don't know if you do the math on that. He's pushing 80, but he is still a spry gentleman. He runs like 3 roofing siding crews. He's done this forever here in Oklahoma City. He's prolific on television. He's a very distinguished-looking gentleman. And at the end of his commercials, he always says, "Be safe and God bless." He's always says, "Cool." He's a great guy, good Christian man. And so we had him come over and do an estimate on replacing the 35 windows that we have in that building. You can imagine the drafts that we have out of these old 3,500-year-old windows. But and so he gave us a price, and I started talking to him about the mission of it, because the thing is, he comes out and does all the estimates for those, and then deploys 3 crews out, so he does all the estimates himself. So he came over and chatted with him, and we looked around the building. He did some ciphering, and then I said, so all the time I'm talking about the mission of the Phoenix House, and the guys, and telling them a couple of success stories. And so he sharpened that old pencil and came up with a little better number. And then I took him in to meet Dana, our director. She beat him up a little bit too. She's a very persuasive lady as well, and of course 13 years there, and just doing God's work, and so he actually kind of choked up a little bit. He said, "Tell you what," he said, "I can't do this very often." He said, "I'd like to be able to give it all to you for free, but I can't do that. We got crews to pay and families to feed." But he said, but can't do this very often, but I do occasionally." Said, "I'm not going to make a penny off of this. I give it to you at my cost." So that's good. So we've saved a lot of money on stuff like that already. But the thing is that when I turn that in January 2nd, I got to have not just estimates. I got to have bids. I got to have contractors selected. I got to have bids, and the whole thing put together, a timeline put together. I think we've got 8 weeks to get it done for when they approve the grant. So they're giving the money for this to make improvements on things like for the homeless. They want it done, and so I'm going to be the project manager for the thing, and I'm writing the grant, and so we got to have the exact bids, and then the other thing is, we got to have a 10% investment in terms of like matching funds. We're going to get this big chunk of money that's grant money. We don't have to repay it. We got to get the project done. The city's going to inspect it, of course, and obviously we got to have the history of our program and what we're doing, and how we expect to help people and all that stuff. And that's all evident, obviously, in our program. But that's all in the grant. We've got to the makeup of the board of directors, and all those kind of things are all pulling all that stuff together for the city. To convince them, and they will be convinced, of course, to make this investment in our worthy program. But they want us to have 10% of the skin in the game, so we're about halfway there. And so I was thinking about, well, man, I got a good response to this Thanksgiving thing. How could we pretty quickly raise up the funds, the rest of that $15,000? And so I came up with this. Here we go. So the Venmo works out really well. The right there, right there. It's same thing. 2 bags full Shanghai and Venmo. If you would like to make a donation to the Phoenix House restoration program, for a donation of $80.10. Where'd that come from? $80.10. Here's what we'll do. So if I get 100 people, I think we got about 3 times that many subscribers right now, to donate $80.10. So you can donate as much as you want. Donate the whole 8,000 if you want. That'd be awesome. But donate as much as you want. But for a minimum donation of, or as little as you want as well. Obviously no amount is too small. But for a minimum donation of $80.10, here's what I'm gonna do for you. When the old book 2 Bags Full comes out, which I'm cranking on steadily, I'm planning for that to be early spring. So I don't want to set a hard and fast date, but probably March timeframe. So let's talk about that. But so here's what I've come up with. So for a minimum donation of $80.10, here's what you're gonna do. First of all, um, uh, I'm working on setting up like a, I don't know if I'm gonna use Patreon or something, but setting up kind of you know, a a second set of subscribers to the program who will receive some special content, um, who can contact me with questions anytime, that kind of stuff, and whose questions and information in the chat, which I haven't even looked at tonight, but I will. And I've been seeing some of our great uh, uh, you know viewers and chatters here. Vicky, I see you. Rebel's awesome. So positive. Hey, there's a good friend of mine, Lori K. McDaniel. Lori's awesome. Uh, Good friend here in the local area. And she's always been very supportive of the work with veterans that I do as well. So hey, there's a Mover saying attack! Exclamation mark! Right on. Mover's awesome. I really want to thank Mover for helping to promote the channel as well. I always have fun when I go into his channel and or make comments in his chat room, which I do regularly as well. So that's all fun. But back to the thing here. Uh, so what I'm going to do is when I get the book done, so you will receive a very special um, uh, hardback copy of the book. Right out, the first one's off the press, and so here's what I'm doing. So I'm working on acquiring the spent um, uh, shells from the A10. So when the bullet comes out of the A10, the projectile comes out one of those 7 barrels in the Gatling gun. But we keep our what we call brass. We keep the shell casings in the airplane, so they go back into the helix that holds 1174, because we don't want to be raining those huge shell casings down on the friendlies when we're doing close air support, of course. Also, because the gun is about a third of the weight of the airplane, the weight of those shell casings is kind of important for weight and balance in the airplane as well. So we keep those in, and there's a neat system when the new rounds go in, the old shell casings come out. Well, because of the heat of that gun, they can't just be reloaded, so they're melted down. So I'm working on getting a bunch of those, and then I'll have them melted down into these little plaques, thin little metal plaques that will go on the inside front cover of that book. And so it'll be a special subscription. We'll subscribe. I'll make a special notation on there that these are special editions of the book, supporting the Phoenix House Veterans Homeless Program here in Oklahoma City, and then I'll autograph that copy for you, and I'll make whatever personal notation that you want in there as well. Um, so so on the and then and then you will have then a year's membership also into our sort of special group of supporters and viewers, um, whether it's through Patreon or whatever we do. So I'll include that as well. So hopefully that's a fine incentive. I think most of you don't need an incentive to donate to a worthy cause, but it's something I can do. I think it'd be really cool to have a special copy of the book, and especially a little brass, it's not really brass, but a metal plate in there that's a special commemorative plate made out of shell casings from the A10. So that's I think that'd be cool. I'm looking forward to getting that done. And so again, you can just email me on the channel, or if there's other ways that you want to make a donation, that's fine. We'll get you a letter of donation for income tax purposes from Phoenix House, and but you go to Venmo at 2 Bags Full Shanghai and make a donation there. Same as Cash App, by the way. It's the same if you want to use Cash App. You can use that. I've got Google Pay, Apple Pay. I take cash, all that stuff. So we'll make sure that all gets to the good cause there. So I have no doubt that we'll get to that 10% private investment to be able to receive a $150,000 grant from the city, and that's going to make a tremendous difference. We're going to replace all those windows, all the doors. We're going to replace that roof. We're going to 4 heat and air systems. I've got Train manufacturers actually going to donate one of them, so we'll purchase the other 3, and then from one of their suppliers here, and then we're redoing all the flooring in the we got carpeting upstairs, and it's a commercial type carpeting that you expect in a facility like that, but you really wouldn't expect carpeting in a facility like that in this day and age. You expect some sort of a more healthy type of flooring system, and so we'll be putting that in, redoing the bathrooms. They're pretty dated as well, and then also the kitchen. The kitchen has some updating, of course. The whole facility has, but and and by the way, the VA comes, the national folks come every year to inspect the facility. We have a health nurses from the VA come and inspect. We've got dietitians from the regional food bank program here in Oklahoma. They come and inspect as well. So, it's not like the thing's falling down, but as I outlined, it needs needs significant amount of updating, the physical plant as well as just the aesthetics of the building, and the comfort for the guys. Um, so so we'll be doing all that. The kitchen will be completely updated as well. Um, and it's going to be really cool. We've got some really, really cool designs that we've worked on. We've got some, local designers that have helped us with that. Um, and so, it's, and hopefully we'll be able to leverage that $150,000, 165,000 really with ours, but into, into, twice that much in terms of the value of what we're going to do to the property. So, we've got some, as I mentioned, significant help from some of our contractors, and I'm sure as I put together this grant to finalize it, we'll get some more as well. So, um, the other need that we have is transportation for the guys. We had this old, it was a 2005 Ford Econoline E150 van that we drove around forever, and you know, go pick up donations of stuff for guys, and go pick up the food bank, and all guys here and there and all that stuff. Um, it it flew its last flight a little bit this last summer, and so we're there's always needs at a facility like that, um, and there's always people that will step up and help, but this is the big one. This is this is a remodeling that will last, hopefully another, many, 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 many years, another maybe a couple of generations of guys there. So, um, and and then hopefully, but maybe even be able to expand the facility somewhat, or leverage into, a second location or whatever. There's certainly, obviously there's a tremendous need that's hard to meet, and but um, but it's so cool, so many great success stories of guys, uh, that have just their lives have been changed, unless their families have been changed, and and guys that come back and volunteer. You just kind of you think of there's just all the good that's come out of 13 years of a facility like that. It's just really tremendous, and it's really inspiring. So hope you're inspired by it as well. um, I hope that you can find it in your budget and your heart to help out there. Another thing you can do for me is, of course, subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber, and like the episodes, um, as well. So subscribe and like, that always helps us out. We're getting pretty close to the kind of viewership and subscriptions that we need for uh, help being able to monetize the channel through YouTube, and of course that just is going to help us with these charitable opportunities as well. So I hope you join me in that. Um, and I appreciate you for for being here tonight. My voice is already starting to crack a little bit, so let's drink my Sprite. I'm gonna look really quickly here through some of the chat room comments here, and then we'll probably call it a night because my voice is about out. But but I am working on a really cool guest for next week. I've got some other great great guests kind of lined up too. Hey, another great thing. I'll make one more announcement too. So this is cool. I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit here too as well. But so the American Fighter Aces Association sent me an email, their director, and so I have been inducted, or I will be inducted. I've been invited to join. I've accepted as an associate member of the American Fighter Aces Association. It's very exciting. So there's only like 7 living aces left in America. Um, those being from I think there's maybe 1 or 2 aces from World War II that are still alive. Um, and I know I think there's 2, and they both turned. I think one of them turned 100 this year, and one of them turned 101. So it's amazing. And then there are I think 5 from the Vietnam War, and then that's it. So that's all the aces that we got left in America. And of course, an ace means someone who has had 5 or more aerial victories. So 5 is an ace, 6, 7, 8, 10 is a double ace, etc. Um, so, but Chuck de Bellevue Air Force guy from Vietnam. He's one of the 7 living aces, and guess what? He lives like 15 miles from me in Edmond, Oklahoma. The director told me in the email, and so I'm gonna reach out. He's gonna get me the contact information. Reach out to Colonel de Bellevue, see if we can get him on the program. That'd be awesome. I'm sure he'll come on. But I'm very very honored to be associate member of the American Fighter Aces Association. So, what they had to do is, of course, with only 7 living aces, they decided that they would open up their membership as an associate member to any uh, American military pilot who's had at least one kill. So I got one, so that's cool. So I think there's another. I think there are like 38 of us or something like that. Maybe I think that's the right number. I think there's 38 guys besides the 7 that have at least one kill. So still a pretty small group. They have an annual conference every year. I just missed it. Actually, it was in October in San Antonio, I believe. So look forward to next year's. But that's really cool. I'm very honored to have been thought of, and that's a neat organization that I'm going to get involved in as well. So American Fighter Aces Association, thank you for reaching out to me, and I'm honored to be among you. So cool. That's awesome. So let's see. There's a couple questions I want to start to. I'm working on getting a producer too, so it'll be much easier. I won't have to put on my old man glasses. Joseph Rowland says, "I know you decided against the F-16." Oh yeah, because you know what? We can put them up on the screen. Whoa, look how cool that is. I decided against F-16 later in career with the opportunity, but is there any other aircraft you would have liked to fly or just take a ride in anytime period? Love the show. Thanks, man. Thanks for the positive comments, Joseph. Thanks for the question. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of them. Absolutely. When I was getting interested in aviation as a kid, um, I read some of the cool books like um, Thud Ridge. It's an awesome book. The F-105 Thunder Chief has always fascinated me. Just raw power. They did something like 60% of all the bombing in Vietnam was done by F-105s, um, and it was just a beast. They took a lot of damage. They lost a lot of airplanes, a lot of guys too. But they went to all the hardest targets in Vietnam, and and did just great work. So the Thud's a cool airplane. Um, would have loved to have gotten to fly that. But going back further, the P-51 Mustang, of course, the P-47 Thunderbolt. Uh, I would jump in either of those right now. The F-86, the first swept wing jet fighter. It did so much in Korea. It's cool. I remember I got it somewhere still. I've got sort of a print of the first jet victory of F-86 over a MiG-15 over Korea. Um, I Boots Plessy was a great F-86 driver. Um, so that was cool. John Wayne. There was a cool movie of John Wayne flying F-86 with some Russian girl. It was fun stuff. Um, but that was cool. The In terms of more modern airplanes, the F4, of course, just a venerable workhorse and just a beast, and it just looks so cool. It's just a tough looking fighter. I don't need a guy in the back seat much. I don't know what to do with him. I'd rather have like Mover says, rather have the extra gas, man. But then I'm working on I'm trying to get my former combat pair from Desert Storm, uh, Sparky, uh, to come on the program, and his first assignment was backseater Wizzo in F4. So, no offense, Sparky, but he went on to fly single seat fighter, so I think he believes the same thing. But the F4 is just a cool airplane. I would love to fly that. I had the opportunity to go fly the stealth, the F-117. Sparky did fly the F-117, so another great thing that hopefully get some good insight from him into what that was like flying that airplane. We would have probably been in the same class actually, going off from A-10s to F-117s after the war, but decided to stay in the old hog and loved it. But of course, and the F-16. I mean, just is you know, um, I'm not a big multi-role fighter guy, really, but I, I think there's a need for more specialized airplanes in our inventory as well. But the F-16, obviously, one of the most prolific fighters ever. Many would say one of the greatest fighters ever. But just to be and strap that pointy thing on you and have that canopy with no obstructions around you, and just he says like flying on magic carpet. You're just just like on the end of a fast rocket, that pointy pitot tube out there. I think that'd just be just really awesome, to fly, and uh, just such a capable airplane in terms of maneuverability. Um, would be interesting. The side stick controller, I think, the control stick could go between legs, but that's just me. Um, but of course, F-22. I mean, you name it, I want to fly it. We've had some great airplanes. Notice I did not include Fat Amy, the F-35, whatever they're calling it now. I think it was the Lightning II for a while, and now I think they're calling it the Panther or something. I'm not sure, whatever. I'm not a, I don't know. I'm yet to be sold on the merits of the F-35 being our sort of sole, you know, putting all our eggs in that basket here, but that's what we're doing. But anyway, um, I mean, of course I'd fly it, but that's a probably long answer. You probably wanted something more definitive, but I'd say if I could only choose one this second, um, that I know that are still flying around, um, I'd probably jump in an F-86. Frankly, the jet, and I think it's just cool and iconic, and it'd be fun. So let's go with that one. So that's a great question, though, man. Thank you. Thanks for that question. Um, QCAN says here, again, I can put this on, boom, right here. Uh, the pleasure of meeting Kim Campbell. Did you ever fly with her? I did not fly with Colonel Campbell. I'm going to talk about Killer Chick. Casey Killer Chick was her call sign. Probably in another episode, but I have watched a couple podcasts with her, and I think she's awesome. I'll spill the beans now. I was not a huge fan of women flying fighters, frankly. So I'm just going to say that I was not. There's one thing we do here on Warthog Wednesdays is we talk truth. So, for a variety of reasons, I'll talk about later. But guess what? I was wrong. It worked out well. The ladies that have flown the A-10 have done a great job. They've distinguished themselves. They fit in with the bros. And I'll tell you what. In fact, I even reached out to Colonel Campbell. I almost forgot this, but I sent her an email and she emailed back. We talked back and forth a little bit, but I actually apologize to her for all the ladies because I was not a out there naysayer. I just wasn't a fan of it, and I left the Air Force before Congress changed the law and women could fly in fighters. So, but it was coming, and I was not a fan of it, and so but I was not like an outspoken in opposition. I just didn't think it was a great idea. But I'll tell you what, hearing her changed my ideas about that. And I told her that just like that. I said, you changed my mind about female fighter pilots because you're the real deal, real attack pilot, real fighter pilot, and obviously a real leader. And in fact, she led my old squadron, 75th Fighter Squadron, the Tiger Sharks of the 23rd Wing. So, and her flight lead, by the way, um, for people that know that story, why she's most famous is getting shot up over Baghdad, um, in when supporting the invasion of Iraq. So in '03. So, but her flight lead was one of the guys in my combat squadron, and one of my best friends, one of my greatest mentors, Rick Bino Turner, was her squadron commander, and flight lead on that flight where she got all shot up and flew that thing back to Kuwait and landed it. So did a shit hot job. Airplane was she almost bought the farm there on that one. So she did a fabulous job, and is just a great person, great leader, and went on to do great things as well. So after that, so yeah, absolutely, great question. Thank you. I would love to meet her, and hopefully I will one day. So talk some more stories together. Rebel says, how the A-10 get the iconic shark mouth? Great question. I will answer that in another episode. But if you want to look into it a little bit, just look at the history of the Flying Tigers, the 23rd American Volunteer Group, in China pre-World War II, so before the U.S. getting into World War II. Just look at the 23rd American Volunteer Group, the AVG. But the reason I'm going to delay that story is because I got a great story about me being one of the four active duty guys that got to go to the 50th reunion of the American Volunteer Group. And so I want to tell that story another time as well. But hey, also, here's one. Good, man. Thanks for this. We'll end with this one because it's a good it's kind of a good bringing it back around to where. Oops, had it there. This is why I need a producer. Reminder for any donors that work at companies with matching fund programs. Phoenix House is most likely eligible. Yes, we would be. If your company needs more information, just contact me and I'll get them all the nonprofit stuff, the 501c3 designation from the IRS, and all that kind of paperwork that they might need. But that is a great idea. Thank you. See, we got great viewers here, and who obviously are jumping in and getting rallied around this call to action here for the Phoenix House. So um, absolutely, that's awesome. Thank you so much, because again, I can make that grant for as much money as I want. It's just we got to have 10% of skin in the game, and we're about halfway to. So I'm setting it 150,000 as a target. I've got kind of a budget built for that. But if we get more, uh, if we have, so let's say we had $20,000 uh, is private funds, then I can go for a $200,000 grant. We just do more cool stuff for the house, just more great things, and probably roll the transportation piece in there as well, and get a new cargo van or something. That'd be awesome as well. So and I've got a guy that I went to college with. Is a car dealer family here in the local metro area, and I could put some. He would definitely help us get a slightly used one at an auction, or get us a program vehicle from the manufacturer. They happen to be a Ford dealership, so something like that. But yeah, that's a great thought. Thank you very much. Cool. So hey, and also I will answer some of these other questions as well, but and you can always go to we record these shows, and so they're up on the channel under the live shows heading, and so you can always go to the recorded show, and then make a comment there. And I do go in and I try to make an effort to go in and answer those, um, thank people and answer questions and that kind of stuff. And if you got show ideas, that'd be great too. Oh yeah, I was going to mention. So if you make a donation to that, to the Phoenix House thing on any of those platforms that I mentioned, um, there is one more requirement, and that is in the comments. Just like if you want to tell me like what you want to see on the show, or send me an email. My email address is on the channel as well. So it's pretty easy. It's just it's Shanghai Hog 964, because that's the tail number of the airplane I shut the helicopter down on. Shanghai Hog 964 at gmail.com. But I really want to know what you want to see on the show. What kind of content. These are some great ideas for guests. Maybe I could get the Killer Chick on the channel. I noticed somebody else here mentioned that there's another great A10 lady that's the demo pilot now. So that'd be cool. Get her on the show as well. Captain Lindsay Mad Johnson. That's cool. Mad Johnson. That's awesome. Some of the chicks have some cool names. Like the F-16 demo pilot recently was called Rebel. I think that's cool. And so good deal. And obviously, great examples of fighter pilots for the Air Force to go out and do the demos. So you got to say the ladies being chosen as demo pilots is pretty good testament to the fact that they're doing a shit hot job. So good on them. Absolutely. I would say add a boy, but I guess we say add a girl. I'm not sure. I think and then we can't just say bros anymore. I think they call them sisses. They call them bros and sisses, which is cool. I mean, it's a term of endearment. So that's awesome. I think it's just working out great. And I'm glad to hear that. So I'm happy to be wrong on that one. So anyway, I think we'll wrap it up for tonight, because I'm about to lose my voice. We did go almost an hour, but so sorry for shortening it up here, and I having a super awesome guest, and you had to listen to me the whole time. But thanks for letting me make a pitch for the Phoenix House. I'm not going to always be asking for money, by the way. I was just had a good response for Thanksgiving, and then I was thinking, man, that grant's coming up, and we really need to get this project done. And I thought, man, I'm just going to reach out to my viewers, and then offer them a cool version of the book, because I'm cranking on that book. In fact, that's what I'll be doing next, is my throat lodges, and crank out maybe work on another chapter of the book, because get excited about it. Tell you what, I get excited about this program too. I'll just say, as I sent off, that a little sentimental here, is that I get nervous about doing it because I don't know what I'm doing, but I get excited about it. It's a lot like it's really. I was thinking about it today. It's a lot like combat flying. Really is. I don't have to go find a quiet place to dry heave before the show, but other than that, I do get a little bit sort of nervous energy about it, but I get excited about it. I look forward to it, all week and through the weekend, and then I kind of block out this day to just sort of rest a little bit and prepare for the show and think about it. And I've been looking up because I've got this sort of like a big piece of cardboard that I tacked up above my light here that's got sort of like my notes, like what I should be talking about. So hopefully I haven't rambled as much as I have in the past, but I probably have. This is what I do. But anyway, thanks for those of you who stick around and enjoy it. And I appreciate your comments. Look forward to comments in the recorded show as well. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And we'll see you next week for another great show, great edition of Warthog Wednesdays. Have a good night. Thanks again. God bless.